Hi, I'm George Pearson. We'll be taking this picture and through a little bit of Photoshop Elements Leprechaun magic, change the background over to this. Now if you like this video, make sure you click that like button and of course share it with your friends through social media. Also make sure you subscribe if you haven't already done so, and take a look at my complete training courses for Photoshop Elements, and there's a link right down there in the description. Okay, let's get to it. This is a fairly straightforward change background project with just a St. Patrick's Day theme in here. But I'll be showing you a few tricks to get the best quality on this background change. And of course it has some graphics up here and a custom background, a few things like that. We'll start off with a brand new file. Let's close this down and File New, Blank File. And let's set this at the default Photoshop Elements size, which is 6 by 4 at a resolution of 300 pixels per inch. Choose OK. Now I have mine set for floating windows. Not really super important for this project, but I always have them set like this. Go up to Edit, come down to Preferences, General. Right there, make sure that these two checkboxes are checked, and you can then do floating windows. Right now I'll just dock this. There we go. Just pull it up to get a little light blue outline there. Let go, and that docks it up at that top section. I can undock just by pulling it like that and then putting it back up again. Gives you a lot of freedom. Okay, let's now put our background in here, and that's a custom background. I already have all of my images set up in a folder. And let's go up here to Open, and there it is. And you can download these from my website. Again, take a look in the description for the download link for these. This is our first one. Choose Open. There it is. This is made from part of the elements of a couple of St. Patrick's Day cards I did a couple of years ago. And then it's repeated here to make a nice repeating pattern. This is exactly 1 inch by 1 inch square. Now to make this into a pattern to fill something else, we'll need to make a selection of this. So select all and look for little marching ants in there. There we go. And then edit and copy. Once that's done, we can go ahead and make our pattern. You can do that just by going up to Edit, come down to Define Pattern from Selection. There it is, and choose OK, and that's now done. At this point we can go ahead and close that down. Let's now switch over to the paint bucket right here, and if you're on the left hand side of the paint section, just go to the right hand side and you should see pattern right down below there. And you should see the pattern right here. If you don't, you'll be in the default pattern section. Most likely it'll probably look like this. There you go. Just scroll down and this will be at the bottom. And there's the one that I made for the demo at the beginning of the video, and here's the one we just did right there. Let's double click on that. There's the pattern. So they come in here and click, and it fills the whole page with that pattern. Now it's an exact fit because we have exact inches across the top and exact inches up and down. 4 inches up and down, 6 across, and my pattern, which is that square right there, is exactly 1 inch. So it repeats 6 times across the top and 4 times down to give us a nice filled pattern. Later on we'll be putting some layer effects on this to control the quality, the brightness and contrast to help blend in with our picture. But for right now, that's just fine. If you want to, you can use a different pattern for your background. You don't have to use this one. Let me show you where we can find those. Go over to Graphics and Backgrounds. And in here, you see there's the little scroll handle right there. I'll just scroll up a little bit and see if we can find these. There are some St. Patrick's Day patterns in here. It's a little bit higher than I thought, but we're just about there. Keep on scrolling up. There we go. There's this one, and there's that one right there, and this thing, kind of a musical number thing, and this clover background. Any of these would also work out fine. They're a different effect, but it's just different background to use. So you have those options as well if you don't want to use my custom background. Or use any background that you want, and that's just fine as well. But let's go back and we'll fill this with our custom background. Let's just undo that place background. Back up a couple of steps here. There we are. back to the one we have, back to our custom background. Let's now put the girl's picture in here. You can do that with a place, so File, Place, and there's her picture. Choose Place. There it is. Now I want to enlarge her so she fits in properly into the space. Just choose OK here. To make that easy, let's just back out quite a ways. So I'll grab my little zoom control here, back out quite a ways like that. And I'm also going to be making her, about 50, maybe about 75% transparent. I just want to be able to see the background through the picture just a little bit here. Now use the Control-T keyboard shortcut to bring up the control handles, and then grab these handles and let's pull these out. And what you want is the right hand coming just about to that first row right there. So there's our first row. And left hand, same thing, about to the first row there. So our hands are just about touching those two rows. A little bit larger right hand side here. There we go. And then you can kind of see that other row in there. You want the top of her head to be coming up just about to the top. It's about one row up there. So there's a row above her head. There's a row to the left and a row to the right. Doesn't need to be exact, but that's just about the right positioning in there. If you want to get real technical, just go ahead and bring down a guideline like that. Be a bit easier to see possibly. I'll just put these right on top of those, and I'll show you that in just a second. And let's bring the opacity back up again. We'll hide her. So there's a guideline right at that top row, right row, and left row. And you want her so she's just about touching that, and just about touching at the top. Again, doesn't need to be exact, but that's approximately the right position right in there. Okay, let's go ahead and get rid of those guides. Just View and Clear Guides. We now need to get rid of this background. And to do that, we'll use a selection tool and make a selection around her figure, and then use a Refine Edge to come in and clean that edge up. I'll be using this one here, the polygonal lasso. It's right there. You probably have it looking like this. Just come down to the options, click on your polygonal lasso, and then come in just outside of her figure and just work around and make a selection of the whole figure here. I'm going to go around the fingers like this and up around the edges here. It won't really cause any problems if you happen to go over the figure, but it's better if you don't. It's just a lot cleaner. Now when you get down to about this far, you can hold the space bar down and then move the whole picture up, and then continue on around. When you're using this tool, don't click too quickly or the selection will collapse. You have to start over again. Okay, there's our basic selection. Let's now click on Refine Edge. I have my feathering set at 1 pixels and Refine Edge. And there we go. Now we need to clean up that edge in here. And I'm going to be setting the smoothing at 5 and contrast at 5 just to help our edge a little bit, not too much in there. Now in this you can look at different options. You have the overlay. Here's a red overlay. I'll normally use a red overlay for making my refined edge. It's just easy to see where the edges are. Then you can switch over here to the on layers to see what the effect is. We'll use our red overlay. We can also zoom in using our zoom tool right there inside of the refined edge. Let's just zoom way in. That's pretty good. And here's the hand tool. You can move it around using the hand tool. I'm going to start right down here on the sleeve and use this top tool. This is our refined edge radius tool. Here's the size down here. The default is 35, which is like that, and that's a bit too big in this case. You want it not much bigger than the space you're trying to fill. So let's set this down to, let's try 15. 15 is pretty good in this case. And then just paint right along that edge. I'll normally do this in several steps. There we go. And then either use the hand tool like that to make your move, and then back to your Refine Edge tool, or you can hold the space bar down to make your move. Either one that you like. It's up to you. I'll be using the space bar for the rest of this bit. So again, spacebar just like that. Whenever you see the hand showing, it means I'm using the spacebar. Okay, we'll continue around. And again, just do this little bits at a time. It tends to work a bit faster and cleaner if you do little bits at a time. If you try too much, it tends to bog down a bit. So just take your time and work around your edges. There we go. And then between the fingers, see how the red is going into the fingers in here? We'll fix that as a secondary pass on this. That's because of the shadow. It's matching the background a bit closer, so we'll have to fix that shadowed edge. But that's an easy fix. Again, I come in close first, and then I go out to catch anything which I've missed. Maybe come back in just a little bit. And always in just little strokes. There we go. That edge, and right around in here. And that looks pretty good. Let's now see how we did. We'll switch over here to the On Layers view. I'll go to let's go to hand tool right there. There we are. A little messy in here. We can fix that. This edge looks pretty good. A little bit of a problem right in there. A little mess in the fingers. I was expecting that, and that tends to happen. These edges all look good. Okay, so we're looking pretty good. A little bit of a mess right there. We'll clean that up later. Now right here, see, we get some transparency right there on the hand, in there on the fingers. Let's fix that stuff first. We'll do that with this second tool here. This erases the refinement tool adjustments. So I can come back in and just paint right on top of the finger. And notice how it disappears as I'm painting. It then comes back in again. Let's switch over here to the overlay. Maybe a bit easier to see this on the overlay view. There we go. So just come back in and paint right over where you're seeing that kind of a dark red along that edge. That's where your transparency is happening. So I'm just painting back in the original image. And just work along that edge. And if you need to, you can go back and forth a little bit in here to get just the right amount. We can clean this up later on. Okay, that all looks good. Let's take a look at the hair. Now the hair is a bit tricky. It should be okay though. I think we're okay around there. And let's try just a little bit more of the refine edge right over that bit in here. Looks okay. And a little touch up right there. Okay, that looks good. Now we want to take this to a new layer with layer mask. And choose OK. Now that that's done, let's just zoom out and fill screen. So far so good, and in most cases this is all you actually need to do. But I'll show you a few cleanup tips to make it even better. It's a little bit like, a little kind of fuzzy in there. We'll do a little bit of cleanup on this, make it even better. Now the way you do that is to go to the Move tool up here, this little arrow, hold the Alt key down, and click on the layer mask itself. We're now looking at the layer mask close up. This is the hand up here. Just pull this down. See, there's the hand. And this is the area that we see through and see the girl's figure. And this is the black that's hiding the background. And where you see bits like this, this is kind of transparent area. So there's a little bit of background showing through here. And it's more of that right down below. Now you don't really want to have this stuff along the edge of the main figure. If we go up here to where the hair is, that's fine up here. That's what it should look like for the hair. So that's all okay. But where we're seeing it against a harder edge, like right here, we can go ahead and fix that. Now an easy way to do this is to grab this tool right here. This is the Burn tool. I have my exposure set at 50%, and then just come along right in here. Now this darkens down that black area. So I like doing this right along the edge. It's the safest way to come in and make this clean because it's not going to come in and do anything on the white area. So that cleans that up. You can then switch over to the paintbrush and using black right down there, and I have mine set at 10 pixels right now, pretty small. we can come in and then just paint in the rest of that. So that's now cleaned up. And just go around the figure and do this. Let's just see. A little right here. That we can just get with the black paint. That's fine. And the black paint is good for that. Now, right in here and down here, let's switch back over here to the burn tool. A little bit on that edge. Let's do that edge. Again, the nice thing about the burn tool is I can go over the white and it's not going to be painting anything in. It's just darkening down what's there. There's nothing in here, so nothing to darken down. So it's a very safe tool to use around the edges like this of the layer mask. And just work around and darken down anything right against the edge. And then go back with the paintbrush and paint out anything else which needs to be fixed. That's good. And there's the hair. Leave the hair alone. So that bit right there, I can go ahead and take that out, and that kind of funny shape right there. Let's work those out. That looks fine. Maybe just a little bit right there. Okay, so there we go. That's all nice and cleaned up now. Let's go back to Fit Screen and just click onto a different layer and then get you back out of that layer mask. So there we go. Real nice, perfectly clean background removal now. Real nice, real tight, very, very clean background removal. Okay, let's now work on her image. She's a little bit washed out compared to the background, and I want to be also brightening up her teeth. So for the teeth, let's take this layer here and make a copy of that, and then just hide that temporarily. We'll come back to that. Okay, down here, back on this layer right here, let's go up here to Layer, come down to New Adjustment Layer, and Levels, where it says Use Previous Layer to create clipping mask. Choose that, and this simply makes the adjustment only work on that one layer, which is what you want. You don't want this adjusting the background. You just want it on her layer right there. So for this, we're going to increase the contrast. And on this top section here, this is the input section. You increase the contrast by pulling the left and right sides in. Right side brightens your brights. Left side darkens your darks. And this adjusts your midtone brightness. Now, the one that I found that looks good is 1 for your midtones. And I'll pull the blacks up to about 47 right there. So good and contrasty. And then let's pull the whites in just a bit further. About right there. So the values now feel like the values in the background. They kind of match the background. So there we go. We just increased our contrast by pulling the ends in towards the middle. You can just close that down. The nice thing about using these adjustment layers is you can double click on the adjustment icon and it brings us back up again, and you can make more adjustments if you want to. So you can always go back and do more adjustments. Okay, let's just brighten her teeth up a little bit. They're not too bad. We can go a little bit better than this. Let's bring this layer back in again. See, there's the adjustment layer, and here's without the adjustment layer. We'll do a new layer mask and show just the teeth. So first, let's go over here to this layer mask, and let's take this one out. Just click on it so you see the light blue outline, then right-click and delete layer mask. There we go. Now we'll use the same polygonal lasso tool, and I'll come in here and just do a quick selection right around her teeth. I'm not going to be real careful about this. Her mouth is actually very small in the picture, so we can be a little loose on this one. It'll be fine. And down there in the options, I have the feathering set at 1 pixel. So a little selection just for the teeth, and then hit the layer mask button right there. We now have just the teeth showing on this layer, which means we can apply adjustments just onto the teeth. So we'll do a couple of adjustment layers here. Let's first adjust our values on this one. So Layer, New Adjustment Layer, Levels. And again, make sure that checkbox is checked. Choose OK. There we are. I'm going to increase the contrast again. Let's move this up. First the dark side, and go quite a ways here, and then bring the light side up. About like that. Little eye icon right here, you can click on that to see how it is. There's without our adjustment, here's with our adjustments. We increase the contrast on that. That kind of brings the teeth back into the range with our image, just a bit more contrasty, so a bit more detail in there. Close that down. Let's do another adjustment layer. Come back here to the image layer, and then layer, new adjustment layer, hue saturation right there. Again, make sure that is checked. Then there are two basic things we want to do here. You want to bring down the yellow a little bit. So where it says channel, change that to yellows. And where it says saturation, this is the amount of yellow in here. Just pull this to the left a little bit. You can see here I can actually change how much yellow is in there. So I'm going to pull it down to about 32, 33 in here. So a bit less yellow. We can brighten them up with the lightness control. Let's bring it up to about 17. We can double check that. There's before and after. It's very subtle, as you can see. There's a little bit of blue coming in. When I pull the yellow out, some more blue is showing. So let's switch this over to the blues, and we'll pull our blues down a little bit as well. Maybe down to about 35, 38 in there somewhere. There we go. And let's see how we did. Okay, it's very subtle. There it is without, and here it is with. Okay, so the teeth are taken care of. Let's now set this back to fit on screen. So all of that is good. Let's now put that hat on her head up here. And I'll zoom in a little bit towards the top just a touch. That's pretty good. And then we'll open that file. Go ahead and do File, Place. There's the hat. And bring that in. Now it comes in too large, as you see, so I'm just going to go to that corner. If you look up here, upper left-hand corner right there, there's a corner of the actual picture. I can grab that and pull that down, and we can get this down to size. Just pull those corners down. And somewhere, it's going to be a little bit too large still. I'm going over a pretty small size here. And then come just outside the corner. You can see right there, little bent arrow. You can use that to spin the hat around. Just give it kind of a nice rakish angle. And then just bring it in right in here someplace. It's not absolutely perfect hat for this, but it works out pretty well. Just a little bit smaller. The small hat off to a set like this is pretty fashionable at the moment, especially over in England. Okay, so there's our hat. Let's put a little bit of a drop shadow under here, under the hat. And we'll do that up here, layer, and layer style, style settings. There we go. Now change the angle here so that the angle is kind of off to the same side as the hat. So looks like that's about the right angle, same angle as the hat. That's good. Drop shadow. On the drop shadow, let's just bring our size down a bit. The larger the size, the softer the shadow. The smaller the size, the harder the shadow edge. Let's bring the distance out a little bit. See, there's the hat. Let me show you that edge. I'm going to bring the opacity way up so you can see this. So more size, it softens it out. You can see right there. So I have ours at just about 5. You can even actually type in a number if you want to right here. And then the distance right there is the distance. We'll pull ours out just a little ways. About right there. And then on the opacity, it's just sit about halfway. About 50%. Just a little bit of a shadow in there. Choose OK. All right, so far so good. Hat is in place. Let's now put a little bit of a glow behind her figure in here. So I'm going to back down to her figure layer. That's this one right here. You can see because of the layer mask. And let's add a layer style on that layer. So layer, layer style, style settings. We'll be doing a glow right here. And it's an outer glow. It's a little hard to see here, but the little white square right there, click on that square, and that brings up the color picker. We want to have our glow a yellow color. So let's click into the yellows right down here, and it'll be up in here someplace. Now the one that I actually used, I'll just type it in right here. What I used was FFEA00. right there. Just a nice bright yellow. And choose OK. So there's our yellow. Now we need to adjust the size on this. So if we pull the size up, you see it kind of comes out there. And if we bring the opacity up, you can see it better. So bring our opacity way up, say about 80, 85. There it is. And there's that glow in behind. And I'll pull it out, oh, maybe about that far. Just a real nice bright glow happening in behind her figure in there. Okay, choose all right. That's done. Now the last thing I want to do is I want to tone down the background here. Just a bit too bright and a bit glaring in behind her, almost like a TV set in behind her. So we're going to bring the background down a bit. Zoom down to the background layer here, and we'll do an adjustment layer there. Layer, new adjustment layer, and levels. And again, make sure that checkbox is checked. And here we go. Now, it's too bright, so I want to bring down the brights a bit. And that's your output levels here. So that's this right side control. If I bring this back, it tones down the whites. They're not quite as bright. And I'll bring them down. Let's just see, about right there. So the whites are a lot darker. You can see her glow a lot better now. And let's add in some contrast adjustment in here as well. So let's bring our darks up first. So it's more dark side contrast. I'll go quite a ways up, so it's really getting nice and dark in there. There it is. Let's bring our whites back up. Now this time with these whites, it lightens the whole thing up a little bit, and that tends to cut down on the contrast between the light and the dark squares. You see right there, the more I go, the less value separation you're seeing between those. So let's pull this down again to about the same numbers down below, very close anyway. I'll bring it down to about, that looks good, about 210, looks fine. And then on this control, we can lighten or darken the whole background up right here. The lighter I go, again, it tends to soften things down a bit. And the darker right-hand side, you get more contrast between those. It's up to you how far you want to take either one of these. Just a personal choice. Now the one I had in my example was just about 2. Right about there. And I think I'll pull this over just a little bit darker maybe. I'll go back to just the 1. And just a matter of just playing with these controls now until you get just the right effect for that background. You can even soften the lights down a bit, or the dark rather, by pulling the output in a bit. But I think I'll leave that alone. That looks pretty good. So just come in here and just work back and forth. I think somewhere in here looks pretty good. So I'm using 102 on the darks. 106 actually could just be a 1. That's fine. Right there be 1.00 actually. There it is. Just type that in. And a 209. And I think that's pretty nice. So there we go. Here's our nice little background change to a St. Patrick's Day theme and the little hat as well. Let's just enlarge this and see how this came out. We'll zoom in there. And there we go. Last little thing, I think I'll just hit her picture here with a sharpening filter. Just one click on that. So click on her layer again. And let's go up here to Enhance and adjust sharpness. And it's her face I'm concerned about in here. Okay, I think that's right there is looking pretty good. I don't want to go too crazy on it. Just a little bit of sharpness added in there. And that works. And choose OK. And there we go. So there is our St. Patrick's Day background change. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to click on that like button and of course share with the share button down below. Also, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so, and take a look at my complete training courses, and there's a link right down there in the description. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you found it useful. If you like this video, click on the like button below to let others know. You can click the subscribe button so you don't miss any of my videos in the future. I'm frequently uploading new training videos. Don't forget to check out my website at howtogurus.com.